Lovely.
Thank you for being here today, and what a great day it is. Today's event is co-sponsored by the Harlan E. Boyles Distinguished Lecture Series and the Global Opportunities Conference. We are thankful for our sponsors who are here with us today, Mr. Edward Boyles, son of the late State Treasurer Harlan Boyles, the namesake of the lecture series, and Mr. and Mrs. Zach Tate, trustees of the Ann Cannon Trust. This is our 61st Boyles Lecture, and each event since our tradition began in the spring of 1988 has highlighted hard work and integrity, qualities absolutely required to succeed in today's business world. Today, we are welcoming to campus Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, a 2014 Nobel Peace Prize winner and a renowned child rights activist who has influenced the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, goals to which we here in the Walker College are aspiring. Students, we invite pioneers and visionaries like Mr. Satyarthi to campus to inspire you to make the planet a better place, and to encourage you to use your Appalachian education to do business for good. It is now my pleasure to introduce our platform party. Dr. Marty Mesner, our Associate Dean for Global and Civic Engagement, who will tell us more about our speaker shortly. Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, our distinguished speaker. And Mr. Edward Boyles, Managing Director of Wells Fargo Securities, a valued member and current chair of the Walker College's Business Advisory Council, and a constant supporter of the Boyles series. Marty.
Thank you very much, Dean Norris. It's my pleasure to join you for this special event, and I'd like to start with a brief video. That was briefer than I remember. That was.
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2014 is to be awarded to Kailash Satyarthi for their struggle against suppression of young people and children.
There is no greater violence than to deny the dreams of our children. I refuse to accept that the laws and constitutions are unable to protect our children. Today is the time for every child to have the right to life. I refuse to accept that the shackles of slavery can ever be more stronger than the quest for freedom. I refuse to accept here.
Getting a greeting like this is all the reward Kailash Satyarthi needs for freeing these children from a life of slavery. He tries to give these kids the childhood they missed.
Do you think these kids see you as a Nobel Peace Prize winner?
No, I don't think they see me as friend or brother or something like father. I have looked into their frightened and exhausted eyes. I've held their injured bodies and I have felt their broken spirits.
I refuse to accept that children belonging to certain sections of society are born to work for others at the cost of their childhood and freedom and education.
If the children are exploited, if the children are deprived from their childhood in any part of the world cannot live in peace. The world cannot be human.
It's not often the two winners of the Nobel Peace Prize get together, but it happened yesterday when President Obama met Kailash Satyarthi. They were joined by 3 children who were rescued from child trafficking and forced marriage.
You cannot live in isolation. All the problems and solutions are interconnected. And so the problem of child labor in any part of the world is your problem.
Satyarthi organizes raids with local police, but sometimes employers are tipped off and waiting for him armed.
But I have been attacked many times in my life.
You had a gun to your head.
Literally here.
This is dangerous work, freeing these kids.
Somebody has to pay the cost for freedom. It does not come on plate. So if not me, then who else will do? Nobel Prize.
Who won the Nobel Prize, he asks. Their reply, all of us kids.
It's good.
Every single minute matters. Every single child matters. Every single childhood matters.
I recently learned, actually 2 days ago, that since 2014, when he received the Nobel Peace Prize, Kailash has had more than 45,000 invitations to speak across the world. So that would take about 120 years if he were to accept all of them. So they have to be pretty selective, and we are so honored and grateful that we made the cut. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Satyarthi. A little bit more background. Mr. Satyarthi is the driving force to support the global fight to free all children of child labor and offer opportunity for education to all. Despite his youthful appearance, Mr. Satyarthi has been a tireless advocate of children's rights for over 3 decades. To fulfill his vision of a world free of violence against children, where all children are safe, free, healthy, and educated, and have the opportunity to realize their potential, Mr. Satyarthi has created the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation. For his struggle against the suppression of children and young people and for the right of all children to education, Mr. Satyarthi was joined in receiving the award for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014, and in 2016 he launched the 100 Million Campaign. This campaign aims to inspire and mobilize young people to stand up and act for their own rights and the rights of their peers. Additionally, the campaign hopes to achieve the world's biggest youth mobilization to end violence against children, eradicate child labor, and ensure education. I, and I'm sure all of us, look forward to hearing his views on how we make positive changes to the world. Mr. Satyarthi, would you please join me at the podium at this time? We have an award to present to you. It is the Appalachian Global Visionary Award. It's not yet as widely known as the Nobel Peace Prize, and it is given to an individual for their role in making the world a better place, especially on behalf of the disadvantaged and vulnerable groups. Actually, this is the first year of the award, and you are the inaugural recipient. My concern is that we have set the bar so high with you, our first recipient, that no future recipients will be able to measure up. However, it is my hope that a future recipient is in our audience today and will dedicate themselves to a great cause because of your example. It is my distinct pleasure to honor you with the Appalachian Global Visionary Award for your contribution. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Yeah.
And don't
Should I
go
not
too
wait
far.
for another one?
Well, we'll do that at the end. Well, you can. So I think you've heard enough from me. Let's just let Satyarthi Kailash Ji come to the podium one more time. You can have more steps.
Something I was asking.
And we are eager to hear what you have to tell us about this.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
So
A
can
warm welcome again.
Yeah. I mean, should I be? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. How are you today? Weather is good. No, it changed actually when I got up. It was sunny day, and suddenly it started raining. Thanks, you brought an umbrella for me, Martin. So, my dear children, I could see some faces of young children. Yeah? Can you raise your hands? 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, yeah. Wonderful. So, as you said that, so far I have received more than 45,000 invitations. And for my office, it was hard to decide where to go. But first of all, they did one thing, one exercise, that if I had to go to every place to speak and take part in meetings and so on, it will take another 120 years for me to alive. So I have to live another 120 years. Can you pray for it? If you wanted to see me again here? Actually, when Albert Einstein got the Nobel Prize, he suddenly became very popular, very famous. Everybody wanted to invite him for his speech on the theory of relativity and so on. So he had to go to several places. One day, his driver felt that the boss is getting tired, quite exhausted. So he had an idea. He was also an old guy with long hairs. He said, "Sir, I feel that you're exhausted. I've been listening to your story and your speeches again and again and again, and I can recall everything verbatim. So let us try out a place where the people have not seen your photo, because it was the time when these small cameras were not invented in your mobile phone. Even the mobile phone were not invented. So Einstein asked, what is the idea? He said that, let me try, I can go and deliver the lecture, because I could recall and I'm full with energy and I'm fine. So they tried out. They went to a place, and this guy, the new Einstein, gave a beautiful lecture. Everybody was clapping, even giving standing ovation. And Einstein, the new one, was smiling. And then suddenly, there was a professor in the front row, professor like you, wise man. He stood up and asked, "Sir, I have a question." And he said, "Yes, ask the question." So when the professor asked the question, the Einstein was very clever, the new one. He said, "Oh, professor, I thought that you are going to ask a tough question, but you are asking me such a childish question. Even my chauffeur, my driver sitting in the back, can answer that question." And then the poor real Einstein has to come and answer that question. So even we cannot find our replica to do it like that. So anyway, I'm here. So my dear children, once again, my dear young friends, Dean Heather Norris, Edward Boyle, the friends from Ann Foundation, Martin, of course, and my brother Rajat ji, and Kim, without whom it was not possible that I'm here and interacting with you. So thank you, everyone. Actually, when I was given this topic, making positive changes in the world, I started thinking, why you gave me this topic? The world is full with positivity. There is no dearth of positivity in the world. When I'm standing here, I tell you frankly and honestly, when I look at your faces, my dear young friends, I feel that you are filled with positivity. You are filled with positivity, believe me. The only problem is that we don't acknowledge it. We don't respect the positivity inside each one of us. We don't dig out and channelize it for the betterment of humanity. I've been trying to do in my life like that, but strongly believing that everyone is born with this divine blessings of positivity. So you are one. So I'm not going to preach you anything here today, how to become positive. You are already there. But I'm going to share some of my lessons. But before that, let me begin with an incident. Perhaps the first spark in my life. I was 5.5-year-old, went to school for the first time in my small hometown in central India. And when I was entering in my school gate, I saw a cobbler boy sitting outside the school gate along with his father. And I could not understand. When I went inside, I was disappointed. So I asked the first question in my life to my teacher, "Sir, why a boy is sitting outside the school gate and not with the rest of us in the classroom?" So the teacher was surprised. It was almost 50 years ago, 60 years ago rather. So he said, "Calm down, this is your first day, make friends." Nothing is uncommon when these poor children are working and helping the family. I said, "Yes, sir," but I was not convinced. When I went back home, I asked this to my parents, my friends, my relatives. Everybody had more or less similar answers. But every morning and every afternoon, I saw the boy looking at our feet. Perhaps we can give him some job of shoe shining or shoe repair. But all of us were wearing new shoes. So I was very upset. In a week or 10 days' time, I gathered all my courage. And I went straight to the boy and his father and asked the same question. Boy was shy. Then father answered, "Sir, I never thought about it." I could see some Indian faces, and you can understand that these people belong to the low caste, and for them, we are like Babuji, the educated ones or the high caste people. So he stood up and folded hands and he said, "Babuji, I never thought about it because my parents, my grandparents, and I started this work since our childhoods. And so is my son," he said. And then he took a pause and looked at me with helplessness. He said, "Sir, you guys are born to go to school, but we are born to work." As a 5.5-year-old, I could not understand what does it mean. I didn't know much about the Indian caste system and this social hierarchy. But I felt that there's something wrong. I started crying. I went back home. The empty eyes of this boy and man gave me a new perspective of life. I started thinking that what my teachers say, what my priests say, what my parents say may not be true, may not be justified, because they were saying, they were answering all those ready-made questions, ready-made answers. They were just telling, oh, it is there because it has been there for centuries. But this incident gave me a new insight to question. Normally, our life begins with answers. But for me, I began my understanding about the world with questions. That helped me. I started helping poor children by way of collecting fees, the money from our pocket money to pay their fees. I started collecting used books as a child, 10, 11, 12-year-old child. I collected thousands of books to help those needy children who were forced to leave schools. Then later on, I realized that these children cannot go to school, perhaps because they are poor, but also because they are put to work as child laborers. And I tell you that not only that time, in early 60s, but in early 70s, early 80s, the child labor was a non-issue in the world. It was a serious problem though, but nobody was talking about it. There was no United Nations Convention until 1989 to define the rights of children. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child came to being only in 1989, and it was adopted by the General Assembly and was in practice since 1990. By that time, man had conquered Moon. It was about to conquer Mars. But there's no deeper understanding and commitment about the rights of a child. My parents wanted to make me engineer. I did it. I taught in the university for about a year and a half. I was specialized in rather a difficult subject those days, and it was the high voltage transformer design. But I followed my heart. I always followed my heart. I was in love with a beautiful girl, and I followed my heart, and she's the mother of my 2 children. Now, that was a tough decision. I'm not going to speak much about it. But I learned that if you follow your heart, your mind will follow you. And if your mind started following you, then you can conquer the world. The whole world will follow you. I started fighting against child labor and slavery, giving up my career in 1980. And since then, the number of child laborers in the world has decreased from 260 million to 150 million. Change was possible. Change is possible. Change always knocks our doors, but we don't listen. Inside and outside both. Positive change. This is a concrete example. I understood that we cannot solve the problem of child labor without ensuring an education, and good quality free education. Public education. I founded the worldwide movement, Global Campaign for Education, in 1999. And since then, the number of out-of-school children, officially, UN statistics, has decreased. Out-of-school children in primary classes or primary age group decreased from 130 million to 60 million globally. It's possible. I'm giving these concrete examples so you will learn that it was not possible, it was not done only by the governments. It was possible through the strong collective voices of ordinary people, common people, children themselves, young people. And then, as I said, I learned three things over the years. Let me begin with anger. Can I ask you to become angry? Isn't a strange question from a Nobel Peace Laureate? I'm not going to tell you that suppress your anger, control your anger. I am telling you, my young friends, to become angry because I have learned it. I feel that anger is an energy. It generates energy inside us. And energy can never be destroyed, it cannot vanish. It will remain in various forms. If you suppress anger or any other form of energy inside you, then it will take a new shape. The problem with anger, if it is driven by your egos, your selfish interest, the heart of egos, if it is driven by revenge, then it becomes reactive, negative, and violent sometimes. Your anger leads to violence. But if your anger is driven by justice, righteousness, equality, then this anger could be converted into ideas and actions. So, become angry, be angry, convert into ideas, new ideas to solve those problems and take actions. Is it something difficult to understand? Yes or no? No? Yes? Little bit shy. I was never shy. As I said before that, if I was not able to question the wrongs around me, then many things were never solved. So, you can question. If you believe in something, you can say yes. I give you, I'll tell you a story. Today, child labor, child slavery are very much in the political agenda, but also in the business agenda, corporate agenda. Corporations could not deny, when you talk of sustainability or sustainable business, you have to talk of ecology, but also the human rights or child rights, protection of children. The consumers are much more conscious and powerful. But how this happened out of my anger? I went to rescue a group of children. As usual, it was in 1988 or 89. I was very happy, felt very accomplished when I was able to free a group of children, and the youngest one was about 9-10-year-old. Idris was his name, Muhammad Idris. And when I heard his story that he was kidnapped when he was about 5 or 6 years old while grazing his cattle in his village and taken to work in carpet industry, rug industry. He was beaten up badly when he cried for his mother and father. I also learned that his father was having tuberculosis and he passed away. So when I went to rescue that boy, he was very upset and angry, emotionless. He asked one question, that why didn't my father come to take me? Because he didn't know that his father has passed away. So I was very sad and I said, I'm going to take you to your mother, to your home. So I drove several miles, in fact, 100 miles, 200 miles, something like that. And then when I reached his home, a small village, I met his mother. The mother was looking at us, but she could not recognize. Even the boy could not recognize his mother because she was very frail and things changed and the boy was traumatized. I shouted, look, Idris has come back, to his mother. She did not hear the first time. And then I shouted again and she stood up. But somebody in the village told that she could not see. She lost her eyesight when her son was kidnapped. She used to go to that place every day in jungle and waited for him and cried and cried. And that went on for 4 or 5 years, this person said. And so she lost her eyesight. So I was overwhelmed with my success. I reunited them and went back to the railway station to take my flight, to my train to Delhi. And then, in the same train, in the middle of the night, I found that dozens and dozens of children were getting out. They were landing on the station, and they were being taken by 2 men. They were traffickers. So I indulged in some sort of conversation and argument with them. Then the police came. Police shook hands with those traffickers. They know each other, of course. And then I was put into a locked room, a kind of small cell, a small jail at the railway station. So the whole night, in this winter night, I was sitting and I was very, very angry, very angry. I thought that I'm going to hold the whole world upside down tomorrow. I will do every possible thing. I'm not going to leave this like that. How the police and the traffickers are connived. Maybe because of the winter, chilling weather, or because of other things. My anger got lost, and it has taken a shape of an idea. And the idea was that I thought that if I keep on freeing children from slavery and many more children come, this is not going to solve the problem. Because there is a heavy demand from American consumers, from European consumers for the cheap, beautiful Indian carpets. So I thought that let us go to the consumers and launch a campaign, the Consumers Awareness Campaign. I thought that all consumers are either parents, grandparents, siblings of some children, or at least they were children one day. So why can't I touch a child inside every consumer? I started a campaign, worldwide campaign, beginning from Germany and then United States. The great people like my friend and brother, Senator Tom Harkin from Iowa, and others joined it, and they led it here. And finally, we were able to evolve the first ever social monitoring mechanism. That was monitoring, certification, and labeling mechanism, where a label is put on the backside of rug with a guarantee that it is not made by child laborer. And that was known as Rugmark and now known as Goodweave. And those days when I started this in early 80s, this action. So because my idea was converted into action. And when I started this, we have seen positive change. The consumers could feel more satisfied doing ethical buying. Many of the industry people were, because I was not against the industry, while I was campaigning to educate consumers, I was also campaigning equally to educate and sensitize the industry. So number of people from the industry joined hands in India and then in Pakistan and Nepal, and we have seen that how the number of child laborers, and most of them were slaves, in South Asian carpet industry has fallen from 1 million to hardly 200,000 now. That was possible through the anger converted into idea and action. It was not easy, though. I'm not going to talk more about it. I'm going to leave something for you. Otherwise, the Google people will ask that, Kailash, if you tell everything about you, what will we do? So you can find other websites and Google. But anyway, so this was one anger. The second thing, I again share with you a story, but the second thing is expand your moral imagination. We know that human beings, man is a social animal. But I would say that man is also a moral animal. When we are born as a child, we don't know how to lie. Simplicity, truthfulness, forgiveness, quest for learning new things, taking risk. These are the traits of a child. Somehow, this is inherent morality. Then, identities come. Identities as Hindus, Muslims, Christians. We teach them to be great American, great Indian, African, Latin American, Pakistani, whatever. We teach them to be untruthful. We teach them to be smart and matured, so become more artificial and lose that simplicity and purity of heart. We teach all those things. To become more courteous. When we meet someone, oh, so glad to meet you. Very nice to meet you. Nice to see you. And in your inside, oh, this is not a good person, but even then I have to tell like that. We teach our children like that. So, we are all born with that moral compass, but we squeeze that imagination. I was born in a highest caste family, Brahmin family in India. So our family was practicing untouchability with the lower caste people. And in 1969, when the country was celebrating Mahatma Gandhi's birth anniversary, 100 years of anniversary, and this year it is 150th year, I heard the speeches of the leaders in my town. They spoke very high against untouchability, social discrimination, caste discrimination, etc. So I was very impressed. I thought that they are much better than my own family members. So I had an idea to invite those leaders, all of them were high caste leaders, to come and eat food cooked by the lowest caste, untouchable women. Somehow it was managed. I made the women agree. The political leaders said, "Oh, great idea, we will come." And we were very thrilled, very excited. The food was cooked. It was 7 o'clock, the time. Nobody has turned up. We thought that leaders are generally late. And the phrase Indian time is quite common. Though I was on time here, it was not because of me, it was because of Martin. So, and Anjali, of course. Anjali, my executive director of foundation, is half American, half Indian. Her father was Indian and the mother is American, but she was born here and studied here and so on. So very much on time. So we organized this food, the feast, and unfortunately, nobody turned up till the almost middle of the night. So I started thinking, what is the morality of those leaders who speak so high? And what is the morality of my own parents and my family members who believe in this kind of traditional caste system and the untouchability, the hierarchy, discrimination? Around 10:30, I started eating the food which was cooked by an untouchable, so-called untouchable woman. My friends followed it. When we came back home, I found some of the priests sitting in my courtyard, and they were all angry, and they were threatening my family to outcast. And my mother was pleading, my brothers were pleading. And as soon as I entered, everybody was after me and they shouted. And I said, I have not done anything wrong. We make filth, we make dirt, and these people clean, and even then they are untouchables. We should be untouchable. And that made those priests very furious. And they had given a sermon that this boy should be taken for the purification to go to river Ganges, take the holy dip, and brought back, and a feast of 101 Brahmin priests should be organized. He should touch the feet, he should clean their feet, and then he should drink some sprinkles of water. Only then he would be cleaned, purified. I completely rejected that idea. And the whole night I was struggling. That struggle inside me was the expansion of my horizon of moral imagination. We are caught with small moralities and sometimes we lose the track. We can go beyond our so-called identities and our fears and inhibitions and upbringings, conditioning, compulsions, which create fake moralities, I would say, in harsh words. The cultures. Of course, the cultures were built over the years, over the centuries. But if any cultural value is dividing human beings and humanity, I completely reject it. I don't agree with that. We are all children of one God. Even those who do not believe in God, we are the part of a universal conscience which is beyond the time and space. But we are the part of it, interconnected. So, the second thing is widen your moral imagination. And the third thing I'm going to sum up. Do I have 5 more minutes or so? That is compassion. We are all born with divine gift of compassion. But what happens? As I said before, in case of morality, the layers of learning kept on adding. And then we squeeze this compassion. I'm a believer. If God has given me compassion, then God cannot be so meager to give me the drops of compassion. God has given me the ocean of compassion. I'm born with that. I feel it inside. Compassion is not empathy. It is not sympathy either. It is much more deeper. When you talk of compassion, it is a feeling of suffering of others with a desire and drive to change that situation of suffering of that person. And that breaks the circle between me and that stranger. That is mukti, that is moksha. When you break those circles and started feeling for the suffering of others with a strong drive to change that. I believe that all religions in the world are born out of compassion. Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna. They have broken those small circles of their inner compassion and connected with 1, 2, 20, 200, 2,000, 2 million, billion, the whole world. Not only the human beings, but they were equally compassionate to the animals and nature, planet. Everything was in that, the larger circle. And that's why we worship them. We follow them. There is a Jesus inside each one of you. There is a Muhammad inside each one of you. There is a Buddha, there is a Gandhi inside each one of you. How long you will keep on ignoring it? How long? My question. We have that ocean of compassion inside us, which can protect the world, which can make this world much more beautiful, much more livable, much more sustainable. Losing the compassion means opting or choosing the path of suicide. That we do knowingly or unknowingly. In all my life, I learned how to expand those circles. I was in Pakistan. I met many years ago. And Pakistan and India always had bad relations, enemy relations rather. But first time I went there, I found that there were a number of children working in slavery, number of people working in slavery. I met an 8-year-old girl who was stitching football. And I found that each time she made a mistake with her needles, it goes into her fingers, and she used to suck the blood and start working again because she was a slave. I sat close to her and I asked, My daughter, I will make sure that you will be freed from this place and you will get an education. But tell me, when you go out from this place, what is your dream? And she asked, what is dream? In Hindi or Urdu, we call it khwab. So she said, what is khwab? What is dream? She murmured among themselves with other children. I tried to counsel her that what dream is, feeling very guilty inside. What else could be the bigger sin, bigger crime than the death of dreams of a child? But somehow when the girl came out of her shell of fear, she said, if I had a chance, I would love to kick the real football on a ground. She could not dream more than that. She is my child. She is your child. If so many children in the world are enslaved and sold and bought like animals, if you're using the products made by children in slavery, if the girls are sold in Syria for a lesser price than a cigarette pack for prostitution, and the buyers are none but those terrorist groups, extremist groups, who are those children? Whose daughters are they? Whose sisters are they? I ask you, my dear sisters and brothers, my friends, my youth, whose sisters and brothers are they? They are your sisters and brothers. They are all your children. They are all your children, as they are mine. We cannot confine ourselves with this small, squeezed compassion for our own siblings. Expand it. Your heart is big enough to embrace this whole world and the entire planet. Your arms are big enough to hug everyone, the whole world. Acknowledge it. Respect it. Let us globalize compassion. Let us globalize compassion. We have globalized everything and we have seen the results, good and bad both. I'm going to sum up. I have thought that if we have to make this world a better place, we have to revitalize and recharge this moral imagination, expand it. So I had an idea to create a platform of Nobel laureates, not only from the peace, but also from the science and literature, economics, etc. I started calling them, talking to them, that you have done great service to the humanity, but have you ever spoken for the children who are suffering? A few of them said yes, but most of them had no idea that slavery still exists in cruelest forms. They started supporting my idea for the formation of a platform of Nobel laureates and moral leaders, global leaders, what we call the laureates and leaders for children. The two summits have already taken place, one in India and one in Jordan last year. We are expanding it to create a strong alternate moral voice. To begin with the issues of children, because that is the most uncontroversial thing. When it goes to politics, it becomes different. But for the moral leaders, it's fine. The second thing is, I had always believed in the power of young people. I always believe and say that young people are not the problems. Those who think that the youth are problems, they create violence and things like that, disruptions. I love it. I love my young people because they are full of energy and enthusiasm. The adults have not given them the purpose and direction, a platform, a space to voice themselves, so that they can prove their existence. So with this idea, I have created a new movement in the world. 100 million for 100 million. 100 million young people are the victims of slavery, trafficking, violence, and whatnot. Child marriages, denial of education and health. On the other hand, world has almost 3 billion youth below the age of 25. Considering their power, their positivity, I decided and launched a campaign called this 100 million. So 100 million youth should sit on the driving seat. They should become the change maker. They should prove themselves. They should not wait for others that somebody will come and solve the problems. A president will come. I'm not talking about your president. Neither India's prime minister nor any other president or prime minister of the world. But I tell you, my dear young friends, don't wait for others. There is a hero inside you, and you, and you, and you, and you. There's a change maker inside each one of you. I am just here to tell you, don't wait for others. Take the leadership. Join this 100 million campaign and be the change maker, which is already there, but collectively. We have a website you can use. You can find more details about it, the 100 million campaign. It has already expanded. Within 2 years, it has been expanded over 35 countries, where youth are taking the leadership role, challenging their governments and challenging the world, the United Nations, for the betterment of youth, for the safety, education, and freedom of young people. Do you feel that there is a hero inside you? I can say yes. Just one man. I can remove that microphone and my voice is still louder. Yes or no? Yes. No. Tell yes or no? Yes. The elderly people are thinking that they are already married with many children, so the hero is gone. No, no, no. It is not the age factor. Who has courage to question and resolve to find answers can never become old. So raise your hands if you feel that you can change the world. Raise your hands. Do you want to join the 100 million campaign, young people? Yes. Raise your both hands. I did not say raise your hand. I said raise your hands. Good, good, good. Somebody is taking the photos. If you are not going to join, then I will send you a letter and email. So, once again, I am thankful to you. When I was receiving my Nobel Prize and asked to give the acceptance speech, I did something which never happened before in their history of 100 years. Imagine what happened. I lost my speaking notes, my papers. So everybody was nervous. The Prime Minister, the ministers. And you know, this is the Nobel acceptance speech is the second largest watched episode on television. Do you know what is the first? What is the first most watched thing? This is the FIFA Football World Cup final. And the second one is the Nobel Peace Acceptance Speech. So when I lost the papers, suddenly a story came to my mind. There was a heavy fire broken out in jungle. All animals and birds were rushing for a safer place, including King Lion. And Lion noticed that there was a tiny hummingbird going straight towards the fire. He shouted, "What are you doing?" She said, "Sir, I am going to extinguish this fire." He was more surprised. He said, "What?" The bird answered, "Sir, I was born and grew up in this jungle. I cannot leave it like that. Look at my beak. I am carrying a drop of water. I am doing my bit," she said. That's just the history. I said that this is Kailash Satyarthi's life story. I was born on this earth. I cannot allow the violence against children to happen and continue. I tell you that courage is contagious. Hope is infectious. Get inspired and inspire others. I am here to awaken the hummingbird inside each one of you. You are born with that. You are born with that. I am not here just a speaker. I am your friend, I am your brother. Somebody said that, "Look, Kailashji, your name is written on the board outside." I said, "No. If I am not able to write my name on the hearts of every being here, every young person and old person here, no need to write my name outside. It should be written inside your heart." That's why I'm here. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.